Alright kids, so today for circle time, we are going to be reading about the murder of 6-year-old JonB Ramsey, and we're going to read about the conspiracies behind her murder and who did it. Alright, today we're going to be reading Who Killed JonB Ramsey. This is by Kai Hess Wilson and she's great. 10 out of 10. So she dedicates this book to Katy Perry. This is not the conspiracy that this book is about, but we just can't keep Katy Perry's secret forever. Katy Perry is JonB. Anyways, who really killed JonB Ramsey? It's a big whodunit story. So it was her mom, obviously. Patsy Ramsey, that's her name. Their relationship. Patsy was putting JonB in pageants, and as a mother and daughter, they were close. But they did have some tension on the relationship, and to the public eye, this was not really known. They really seemed close, but after her murder, we found out some tensions they had. Alright, here's the theory that happened with Patsy and JonB Ramsey. The theory goes that JonB and her mother were in the bathroom after JonB woke her mother up after wetting the bed. Now, just a disclaimer, this is a known fact that Patsy was very, very frustrated with this subject, and basically Patsy hit JonB's head against the side of the bathtub. When she saw that she was passed out, Patsy freaked out and wanted to protect her and her family, so she staged it as a kidnapping. So there are 3 reasons behind this: the ransom note, where and how the body was found, also the phone calls, we're going to talk about that a little bit, and the blankets, pineapples, and paintbrushes. Alright, the ransom note. Many things about the ransom note point to Patsy, from the length, the handwriting, and even the money asked for in the note. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the length. This is the actual ransom note. It's actually been cut off a little bit, as you can see, but it was about 2.5 pages long, and when the average length of a ransom note is usually bullet points with instructions. Investigators say that this took about 20 minutes to write, meaning the killer had plenty of time. So usually a ransom note is written at the scene, meaning that they don't have much time for this to happen. Alright, the handwriting. Detectives went into a deep dive of the handwriting in the ransom note. They asked for Patsy to write certain words to see how it matched. There were plenty of similarities, as you see below. So this is the ransom note, and this is Patsy's handwriting. Letters like A, D, E, and many more were written the same. So as you see, the E's are written connected with the T's at that line right there. And right there you see that. This almost looks like somebody was rushing, trying to make their handwriting look different, but you can't really disguise the little things like that. Alright, the money. So as you know, a ransom note asks for money, and in return, they will return the kidnapped victim. This crime happened around Christmas. Actually, the day after is when they found out. This year, John Ramsey, the father, was getting a bonus. Now, in most ransom notes, the amount of money is vague. For example, I need $1 million, or I need $100,000, or $500,000. They don't really go very specifically. But in this ransom note, they asked for $118,000, which is about the same amount that John was receiving this year for his bonus, meaning whoever it was had to know that. So what are the flaws in these theories? It could have been a neighbor or somebody who knew them well enough that would know these facts. I'm about to talk about in the phone calls, but they were very popular in the community, the Ramsey family was, so it's very possible that somebody could have known that. How it proves that Patsy did it? There's no explanation on the handwriting. The fact of how long the ransom note was. I'm sure it wasn't an intruder. Alright, now we're going to get into the phone calls because they're #sus. Patsy called 911, and not even 4 minutes later, she called her friends and neighbors, and if there was a pastor there, to come over. That's her calling her friends because she's happy about it. She's fine. Why? The theory is DNA. Having everyone over there meaning that their DNA is there, so the police couldn't really get evidence from that. #cover-up. So now the DNA is contaminated. Everybody's DNA is there, so they have to take that into consideration. Where and how she was found. This is where it gets Interesting. The police came to search the house. The first search, they could not find her body. Then they came again to search the house a second time. Detectives couldn't find her father for over an hour, and out of nowhere, he found her body in the wine cellar. After the detectives looked there and couldn't find her. So the flaws in this is she could have called her friends over for support. Like I said before, the Ramseys were very popular in the community, and it's possible due to the poor lighting in the cellar that the detectives missed the blanket that was covering her. How it proves, I don't know about you, but if my kid was missing like that, I would not want to be in a big social situation. I might have called like my close family, maybe even some close friends, to let them know what was happening, but it's not likely that the detectives wouldn't carefully look in every room, especially something as secluded as the wine cellar. Alright, now we're going to get into the blanket, pineapple, and paintbrushes theories. The blanket. Where she was found, there was a blanket over her. Nobody remembers how the blanket was due to the fact that John Ramsey was the only one that saw her body in the cellar. He brought her up and laid her in the living room, so the blanket was moved. But John says that he thinks the blanket was there to comfort her. Research shows that when a child is killed and they have a blanket over them, it usually points to comfort, meaning that the killer had a relationship with the victim. Alright. Also, that's just her, like, laying down in a photo shoot. It kind of does look like she's laying in a blanket. That's why I put it. She's not dead there. Whatever. Alright, pineapple. Pineapple was found in JonB's system. Patsy denied feeding it to her and said it was the intruder, but it's very, very unlikely that a 6-year-old would let a stranger who was in their house to feed her pineapple. Plus, Patsy's DNA was all over the bowl. And lastly, paintbrushes. So JonB was found with a garrote over her neck, meaning it's like you have an object and you tie a rope around it, and then you tie it around the victim's neck and you pull this object. And the object that's to use was a paintbrush, which is actually from Patsy's art supplies. It is said that she was freaking out and for her cover-up and reached for her art supplies. Alright, the flaws in this is that the blanket could have simply been used to cover the body, of course, Patsy's DNA was on the bowl. She lived there. And as for the paintbrushes, her art supplies was kept in the basement. How it proves it, the blanket theory has been in many different crimes as a sign of intimacy with the victim. And as for the pineapples, even if you don't believe that there was an intruder, Patsy said that she did not feed John fruit that night. And remember that as a 6-year-old, she was very small. It is unlikely that she would have woken up and gotten this herself. Why this doesn't hold up as the truth? I believe it doesn't hold up due to the fact that everyone in the house and everyone in the family is very suspect about this. So maybe it was the mom, maybe it was dad, or even her brother. There's not enough specific evidence to put this on one certain person in the family. And why does it hold up as the truth? Patsy never cooperated with the police. And as you just read, there's a bunch of evidence against her. And that's all we have today for our story time. Hopefully your parents don't report me to the principal, because I think this is a great children's book. So yeah.